And now to the rest of the stories. River State Police Command says it has arrested David Gift, also known as Tubaba, the prime suspect in the killing of the former Ahoda East Divisional Police Officer, SP Bako Ambashim. The police said operatives on the trail of the prime suspect recovered 4 heavy-duty electricity generating sets stolen by him from one of his hideouts of the Odemude Community, Ahoda East local government area of the state. Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations DCP Olubenga Adekboji, who disclosed this while handing over the generators to the owner, said the courtiers stole the generators from a company operating in the area and demanded 20 million naira for each of the generators to be returned. This is coming after SP Ambashimba was gruesomely murdered on September 8, 2023 by a dreaded cold group led by Tubaba, who ambushed and eventually captured him before decapitating his body, filming their action. Meanwhile, one of the representatives of the company whose generators were seized by the courtiers but recovered by the police thanked the police for their efforts in recovering their equipment, stressing that the generators were seized by the courtiers sometimes in October 2023. River State Police Command says it has dismissed Inspector Michael Ode for his involvement in an act of extortion, while 2 other operatives implicated in the incident have been queried and recommended for dismissal following standard procedures. The state PPRO Grace Iringe Koko, who confirmed the actions in a statement in Port Harcourt, said the River State Police Command is issuing an update regarding an ongoing investigation into an extortion incident involving the 3 police officers. Reacting on the development on Atlantic Television Society Watch, a security expert, Ijonama Mbon Anom, lauded the dismissal of the Inspector Michael Ode, stating that crimes like this has been occurring in River State, but no one has been held accountable for their actions.
On that press release by the police PRO in River State is he has been economizing or micromanaging the information that surrounds that information. He was unable to clarify the general public the name of the suspect that the police officer extorted money from. They were unable to disclose to us where the incident happened, which of the local government in River State, or it happened in the Port Harcourt city of River State, who are the victim, and how does it happen. The only news we can read from that press statement is kidnapping and extortion of money from people. That press release is not comprehensive, and for me, I would also ask the Inspector General of Police to query the police PRO of River State on why he should be micromanaging the information that is open for the public domain.
He also said the police PRO has not been detailed with the full information regarding the ASP's dismissal, stating that the police PRO was unable to give detailed information to the masses on the name of the suspect that the police officer extorted some money from. The All Progressives Congress and the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) on Wednesday in Abuja tendered conflicting election results on the November 11, 2023 governorship election in Bayelsa State. The conflicting election results were tendered at the Bayelsa State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja. While INEC tendered its certified results, the APC polling unit agents tendered various results with respect to the places they represented the party. However, the 2 conflicting results were objected to by different parties. The chairman of the tribunal, Justice Adekunle Adeleye, admitted them as exhibits for the tribunal's consideration during the hearing of the petition. Speaking on the development on Atlantic Television Open Conversation, Honorable Waribani Ezekiel stated that INEC has created more rooms for favoritism because of their personal interest and choice of candidates, therefore depriving the state of a free and fair election.
With the responsibility of managing the electoral system, that is the INEC, they create more rooms for favoritisms because of their personal interests. if they do away with this personal interest and allow for fair and fair elections conduction, then there's possibility of having good results. But another problem again we have is party politics doesn't really work well in Nigeria, because you see, party A will be the ruling party, and the ruling party will use all the government and the people's money to fund their election, and giving room to those parties that are not in power to scout for funds. The funds are hard for them to get, and of course, when you don't have funds to mobilize your supporters to those areas where elections will be going on, of course, there will be nobody that will vote for you. You get, because and campaigns were not done properly. Some places doesn't even know who is.
He also said INEC should maintain orderliness amongst the political parties.
Able to manage political parties well. But before now,
how does INEC manage the campaigns of political parties?
INEC used to fund political parties. Are you getting me? And then too, things were a little bit streamlined. You get? But until when they refused to stop funding political parties, challenges became more than expected. Now, if you fund political parties, for instance, now, why should I contest with somebody that has money more than me? That my capacity will be undermined. You get? Now, I have just 1 million naira in my cover, which I think I can use to do one or two things, and the other person has 10 billion naira in his account. Of course, you know that he will throw more light to his ambition, and we have to win. So INEC should be able to say, okay, let's fund these parties. If it is 10 parties that we want to fund, we'll make laws that will guard that. 10 parties will fund them equally, and they actually go on to campaign for their people, and the vote will be there. So some places you see they said only one party signed document. They are right. Only one party can sign document. The party that has structure to the grassroots can sign document, because, for instance, if in Ward 16, Ward 16, you have no representative of your party in that place, and APC or PDP has representative there, who will sign? One person will sign. So the possibility of getting one person signing a document at that place is.
Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network in Akwa Ibom State Council is calling on the State House of Assembly to hasten the processes of passing the bill for a law to establish the Ibom Oil and Gas Corporation and other purposes connected. The bill standing before the Assembly was sponsored by Prince Ukbong Akpabio and 9 other lawmakers and has passed the second reading. The Akwa Ibom State Director of CHRAN Franklin Isong and the Secretary Christopher Ibu said, having understood the enormous benefits of the bill to the state, when passed, CHRAN would keep the lawmakers on their toes to ensure that the bill sees the light of the day, while recalling how to scrap metal bill, anti-open grazing bill and other bills did not scale through on the floor of the House, saying that the civil society organizations would ensure that the bill is not killed like others, stressing that it would, among other things, help in the acquisition of petroleum products, tank farms and other distribution facilities, investment in refinery, petrochemical processing or other production processes. He also said the Ibom Oil and Gas Corporation emphasizes that the bill will create employment for the teeming unemployed Akwa Ibom indigents, generate revenue for the state and serve as a vehicle for economic growth and regeneration, while also harnessing the consolidating and huge oil and gas potentials of Akwa Ibom State. CHRAN therefore called on members of the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, the executive arm of the Akwa Ibom State government, and the indigenes to ensure a quick passage of the bill and timely assent to it by the governor of Akwa Ibom State in due course. Cross River State House of Assembly has faulted Governor Bassi Otu for allegedly authorizing a loop-sided recruitment of 300 forest rangers. This is coming after the Assembly consequently summoned the chairman of the Cross River State Forestry Commission, George Oben Echi, to appear before it to explain the development, while the lawmakers accused Oben Echi for recruiting his friends and cronies as forest rangers and also ordered him to stop further recruitment and screening of the new recruits. Last week, during an event organized by Nigerian Conservation Foundation in Calabar, Oben Echi disclosed that when he resumed at the commission in November 2024, he met a completely depleted workforce with the shortage of forest rangers, making it easy for illegal loggers to plunder the forest, and had to obtain the governor's consent to recruit 600 forest rangers, but the governor approved the first batch of 300. The Forestry Commission boss, a former lawmaker himself, said selection and interview of the applicants have since been completed, but that some influential persons are threatening his life over the move to recruit forest rangers in the state. Other than that, those threatening him are behind the deforestation in Cross River, who were asking the governor to sack him. But the Assembly slammed the governor for approving the recruitment during a debate on the matter of urgent public interest raised by Honorable Kinsley Ntoy Isong, the member representing Utong State constituency. The House in its resolution ordered Oben Echi to appear before a complete committee to shed light on the recruitment exercise and further resolved to look into the Forestry Commission's operations, particularly the hiring process, which according to the lawmakers was shockingly unfair, biased and favored certain local government areas over others, and a special committee has been set up to conduct the probe. Apex Igbo Sociocultural Organization Ohaneze Indibo leadership has assured total support to the Abia State Governor Alex Oti for his achievements so far in office. Ohaneze's President General Emmanuel Iwanyo will disclose this when he led the organization's executive on a working visit to the governor in his country home in Isialangwa South local government area. While the Ohaneze leadership was interested in knowing how those elected into political offices from the southeast were doing, Chief Iwanyo also said Ohaneze, under his leadership, had been doing to unite and develop Igbo land. Other than that, although the Ohaneze Indibo had supported the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi in the last general election because it felt that zoning favored the Igbos to produce the next president, but with the declaration of President Bola Tinubu as the winner of the election, Ohaneze had already written the president pledging the support of the Igbos to his government in order to unite and develop Nigeria. Responding, Governor Oti thanks the Ohaneze leadership for finding time to visit him and commended them for the good work they were doing in preserving the interest of Indibo in Nigeria. Adding that he is now focused on governance after his legal victory, pointing out that it would be wise for all to support the government at the center and state levels to fix Nigeria. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma is urging former political appointees to immediately return all official vehicles in their possession. The governor had directed the managing director of Imo State Oil Producing Areas Development Commission, Honorable Chief Charles Ore, to take custody and carry out the proper inventory of all official vehicles assigned to the former political appointees. While a statement signed by Ogwuwike Wachiku, Chief Press Secretary and Media Advisor to the Governor in Owerri, Imo State Capital, said the directive affects all former principal officers to the Governor, all former commissioners, all special advisors, all general managers of agencies of government, among others. Ore was also urged to ensure that no former political appointee, no matter how highly placed, refuses to surrender his or her official vehicle. Lawyer to Nnamdi Kanu, detained leader of the Independent People of Biafra, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, has filed a suit against the President General of Orifite Improvement Union in Ekwusigo local government area of Anambra State. Vincent Dike at the Federal Capital Territory High Court Abuja, claiming 50 billion naira damages for defamation in a suit. Ejiofor dragged Dike to court to challenge him for various defamations made against him, while recalling that on February 4, 2024, Dike had addressed members of Orifite community, including the monarch, in his capacity as President General, where he made some utterances and allegations against the person of Ejiofor, and the publications were widely read by his professional colleagues, friends, clients, associates, religious leaders, members, and family members. In the suit, notice for immediate retraction of those offending publications was immediately served on DK via his known telephone WhatsApp number by Ejiofor's solicitors, which letter was duly received by DK and has refused, neglected, and declined to retract these offending publications. Hence, his resolve to challenge the infractions before a court of competent jurisdiction. The suit was signed by Chinwe Umeche, head of chambers and managing partner in the chambers of IC Ejiofor Ugo Chinyere Chambers. However, the suit is yet to be listed for hearing. Leaders of the All Progressives Congress in Southeast have kicked off consultations with prominent Igbo leaders towards making a better roads into the zone. The Southeast National Vice Chairman of the party, Dr. Ijoma Arodiobus, led the party's zonal organizing secretary, Dozie Ikedife, a former senator representing Anambra North, Chief Emma Anosike, and the Vice Chairman Anambra APC, Emma Ekuaju, on a courtesy visit to the Obi of Onitsha, Igwe Nnaemeka Alfred Achebe, at his palace. While describing the monarch as a man of excellent qualities, the APC leader said the visit is based on the respect the people have for him and the role he plays in leading the people aright. Arodiobu, who addressed the monarch on behalf of the leaders, said despite the seeming disapproval of the party by the Igbo, the surest way to link up with the center and enjoy the dividends of democracy was to support APC, and assured that the party has tremendous respect for the traditional institution. Achebe, who received party leaders, thanked Arodiobu and his team for the visit and wished them well in their consultations. Osun State Independent Electoral Commission says the local government election in the state will be held on February 22, 2025. The chairman, Hashim Abioye, who disclosed this at the commission's headquarters in Oshobo, the state's capital, said the commission would soon roll out the timetable for the poll into the 30 LG council areas, 32 local council development authorities, and 6 area council development authorities across the state. Abioye stated that the need for the brief was under the provisions of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution and the Electoral Act 2022, as well as the 2022 OSIEC law of Osun State. While the state electoral body noted that the commission had consulted with legal professionals and key stakeholders, ensuring that there are no legal hurdles ahead of the polls. Oyo State government has shut down 6 health facilities due to quackery. The state government said the affected facilities were sealed due to various offences, including the recruitment of unqualified personnel to provide medical services and engagement in illicit processes, while those affected include New Jobi Memorial Hospital, Omolara Clinic and Maternity Home, Amazing Grace Medical Clinic, Emiloju Clinic and Maternity Center, Safeway Clinic, Emilaba Clinic and Maternity Center, stressing that the importance of ensuring that only qualified personnel attend their medical needs is dedicated to upholding rigorous standards and prioritizing the health and safety of every resident. The state government earlier sealed off 2 private hospitals in Oyo town and restated the need to stop quackery and other illegalities in the state. As over 14 communities in Ogun State currently experiencing power outages, the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company has attributed the challenges to technical faults in power installations. The spokesperson of IBDC, Busolami Chunwase confirmed this, said a faulty breaker on the Ijoko 33 kV feeder had on Tuesday plunged customers into some parts of Odo Otta local government of Ogun in darkness, while technical team is working with Transmission Company of Nigeria to ensure power supply is restored. The Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelebu, has promised to address the issue. Several people are feared dead and others injured as suspected herdsmen sacked the Adija community in Ubokbo Apa, local government area of Benue State this afternoon. Eyewitness said the attackers stormed the village, which is located a few kilometers away from the Itubo Oweto Road, and opened fire on residents, killing an unspecified number of villagers, while some residents have fled to neighboring villages for safety. Operatives of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arrested 14 individuals suspected of internet fraud at a Yahoo Academy in Makurdi. According to a statement on the agency's X account, acting on intelligence, operative from the Makurdi Zonal Command raided a 3-bedroom apartment along Achusa Road, Benue State, believed to be a training center for internet fraud trainees, and arrested some suspects. Other items recovered include laptops, ATM cards, phones, and one fireman generator and a Toyota Corolla car. Newly elected chairman of Chicago State Inter-Party Advisory Council, Alhaji Murtala Musa, says he will fight against the campaign of hateful and political enmity for a stronger democracy. The new chairman made the promise in his acceptance speech delivered shortly after his election and was subsequently sworn into office at the state headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission. In Dusay, promised to encourage and insisted on issues-based campaigns, not personal attacks, lies, and other immoral activities that cause thuggery. He said his administration would focus on promoting more unity among members as well as political parties in the state through open-door policy and frequent sensitization workshops and meetings. The IPAC chairman also promised to provide a permanent secretariat for the organization before the end of his tenure. And in his response, the IPAC national officer, who also doubles as the chairman electoral committee in the state, Honorable Isaac Chigeze Ude, said the election was free and fair and transparent, adding that the committee had insisted on all rules and regulations in the conduct of the election. Obi Baba Ahmed Presidential Campaign Organization says it spent over 744,500,000 naira in litigation in courts over the 2023 presidential election. The organization also said that it received donations totaling over 595 million naira. Aisha Yesufu, the chairman of the fundraising team of the campaign organization, disclosed this during a fundraising report presentation. The group also said over 10 million was spent for the election promotion expenses, while for polling units agents it spent over 324 million naira. And then, of course, we had bank, while administrative charges of gulped 477 million naira, as well as legal expenses and other election activities gulped over 28 million naira. Federal government has declared its intention to stop the treasonable felony case instituted against the publisher of Sahara reporters Omoyele Sowore. A document by the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fabemi, the document dated February 15, 2024, was addressed to the Federal High Court in Nigeria, Abuja Division, stating that the intention to also discontinue the case against Showere's co-defendant Olawale Bakare, aka Mandate. Meanwhile, the trial judge, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court seated in Abuja, had on February 14 threatened to strike out over 4-year-long treasonable felony case, and also urged the federal government's prosecution team to get its act together following the inability of the FG's counsel to make clear their arguments in court on Wednesday and in November 2023. Meanwhile, Shawarari has vowed to sue the federal government and the Department of State Services to the tune of 100 billion naira for the cost of time and resources, mental and financial trauma caused his person, businesses, wife and children, and extended family, and the alleged assassination of his younger brother, Olajide Shawarari, in 2021. The pro-democracy activist and presidential candidate of the African Action Congress noted that he would sue the federal government both in Nigeria and the United States for all the trauma and pains that were inflicted on him while he was detained and later confined within Nigeria for about 5 years. International Criminal Police Organization has arrested the Director of Process and Industrial Development Limited, Mr. James Nolan, on January 27 in Italy. This is coming after Nolan, an Irish national who jumped bail in 2022 in the ongoing $9.6 billion PNID scandal in Nigeria, was arrested by the Interpol while on a visit to his wife, an Italian Economic and Financial Crimes Commission source confirmed. And the next line of action was for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to appeal to Interpol for Nolan's extradition back to Nigeria to stand his trial, while Paul Ekrokoro, SAN counsel to Nolan, said he had also heard about the report that James Nolan was arrested, but the EFCC is actually in a better position to confirm. Nolan, British citizenship, was at the center of the controversial gas supply processing agreement, which was signed in 2010 and was arraigned and pleaded not guilty to the counts preferred against him. A federal high court in Abuja, November 7, 2019, granted him a 500 million naira bail, but the bail was later varied to 100 million naira due to his inability to meet the bail condition. A sister court where the embattled Irish was also standing trial had, on September 18, 2022, revoked his bail, while presiding Judge Justice Ahmed Mohammed now elevated to appeal and ordered that Nolan should be arrested by security agencies including Interpol anywhere he was cited within or outside Nigeria and be produced in courts to stand trial. The judge gave the order after the anti-graft agency's lawyer, Mr. Bala Sanga, made an application to the effect and equally granted the EFCC request to continue his trial in absentia. Also, a brother judge, Justice Obiora Egwatu, on July 6, 2023, ordered Nolan's surety, Mr. Judge Kadiri, to forfeit his 100 million naira bond to the federal government over his inability to produce the defendant in court, while Justice Egwatu, in a ruling after Sanga's moved the motion, also ordered Kadiri, who was absent in court, to be remanded in prison custody until the payment of the 100 million naira. Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has rearraigned Mr. Uche Chigazie, a professor, and 3 companies before a federal high court in Lagos over alleged money laundering to the tune of 1.47 billion naira, alongside companies which include the Visionary Integrated Consultant Limited, the Nehmad Associates Limited, and Revamp Global Enterprises. The defendant was alleged to have converted the sum through the account of Visionary Integrated Consultant Limited, who is standing trial before Justice Isaac Dipeolu on an 11-count charge bordering on conspiracy, fraud, stealing and money laundering, and pleaded not guilty to the counts since the other defendants are not physical persons. Chigozie was first arraigned in August 2023 before Justice Nicholas Oweibo and had pleaded not guilty to the charge, while Oweibo was later transferred out of the Lagos division and the case was transferred to the new judge, Dipeolu, and following the defendant's plea, defense counsel Mr. Edudo Mefu urged the court to allow the defendant to continue on an earlier bail granted the court on August 7, 2023. The prosecutor, Mrs. Chineye Okeze, urged the court, only to allow the defendant to continue on his assistant bail if the defense counsel would undertake to ensure his attendance in court, and explained to the court that the defendant had been absent on certain occasions, which she claimed had caused some drama. The prosecutor also insisted that she would not oppose if the defense counsel made the undertaking, while the defense counsel told the court that when the defendant was first granted bail, his sureties, including his biological father and a legal practitioner. Presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, says an external auditor has been contracted to examine the party's accounts. This is coming after Oluchi Opara, the national treasurer of the Labour Party, had accused Julius Abure, national chairman of the party, of misappropriating 3.5 billion naira after the party suspended Opara, claiming she was being influenced by external forces intent on destroying the Labour Party. Also, Abure had vowed to institute legal action against Opara for defaming his person. Police Service Commission has fixed March 5, 2024 for the computer-based test for successful applicants who scaled through the just concluded credentials and physical screening exercise held across the 36 states of the Federal Capital Territory. Head Press and Public Relations Ikechukwu Ani in a statement said a total of 171,956 applicants who were successful from the screening exercise are expected to take part in the CBT, while candidates for the aptitude test are applicants for the general duty positions. The 43,778 applicants who were successful from the specialist cadre during the screening exercise are expected to go through practical tests at a day to be announced, while the statement said the Commission, after the meeting of the Police Recruitment Board on February 13, 2024, approved that the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board should conduct the CBT for the police applicants because of its long-standing pedigree in such examinations. In the same vein, Anambra has the least number of candidates for the aptitude test, with 343 applicants, followed by Lagos 504 and Ebonyi 600, while successful candidates from the computer-based test will be required to appear for medical examinations before they proceed for training. Academic Staff Union of Universities says the proposed education loan scheme will keep students in permanent debt. According to a statement after its National Executive Council meeting at the Niger Delta University, Wilberforce Island, Bayelsa State, ASU said this. It is surprised by the report it received on the failed promise of Bola Tinubu-led administration towards addressing the lingering issues that forced the union to embark on the nationwide strike action of February to October 2022. Successive governments in Nigeria had always paid lip service to the agreements it signed with the union, which inadvertently made the union always resolve to use industrial action to fight for its rights. While, unfortunately, some of those agreements, including payment of earned academic allowance and the unprogressive renegotiation of the 2009 ASU FGN agreement, removal from the Integrated Personal Payroll Information System, revitalizing funds, and withheld salaries have not been implemented by the government. But ASU insisted that the student loan scheme being promoted by international money lending agencies such as the International Monetary Fund and World Bank would starve public universities of funding. The national president, ASU, Professor Emmanuel Osodeke, in a statement said the union condemned the huge fee hike in schools, saying funds diverted from the government's treasuries should be used to fund universities, while NEC condemns its entirety the wave or fee hike without inputs of the victims across the campuses. It also said the federal government kept faith with the MOU 2013, which provided for 1.3 trillion naira over a period of 6 years, while many universities would have been restored to a level at which they could attract foreign students and become renewed for cutting-edge and transformative research. You are watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We will be back after this break.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
Welcome back. This is the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. Now to the rest of the stories. In view of the security challenges in the country, the federal government and state governors are considering the adoption of a state police system to curb rising insecurity across the country. This was part of deliberations between President Bola Tinubu and State Governors. Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, disclosed this while briefing the State House reporters at Presidential Villa Abuja after a meeting between President Bola Tinubu and governors. The minister, who was joined at the briefing by governors Caleb Mufwang Plateau, Uba Sani Kaduna, and Sharif Oborewari Delta, explained that the process is still in its infancy and would only take shape after more deliberations between stakeholders. According to him, the possibility of state police will be further disclosed. Other than that, a lot of work needs to be done, while the president and governors have agreed to work out the modalities.
At this point, that the nation requires food to be brought out to the people so that we can control prices and put food on the table of most Nigerians. Other commodity traders are busy holding these commodities so that Nigerians will suffer or they will make more money as a result. So the governors and Mr. President have taken this decision that security agencies will cooperate or collaborate with the state governors to ensure that this ends. Number two, a decision has also been taken that in the interest of our country, there will be no need for food importation at this point. Nigeria has the potential to feed itself and even be a next exporter of food items to other countries. And we do not also want to reverse some of the progress we have seen in terms of food production in this country. What we are seeing now is just a temporary difficulty that will soon go away. Mr. President and the state governors have also discussed the possibility of improving the numeric strength of forest rangers, to train them so that they can keep our forest and our borders very safe. Now, there is also a discussion around the issue of state police. The federal government and the state governments are mulling the possibility of setting up state police. Of course, this is still going to be further discussed. A lot of work has to be done in that direction.
There has been clamor for state police as Nigeria grapples with worsening security challenges such as kidnapping and banditry. Key highlights President Bola Tinubu's meeting with state governors at State House. President Bola Tinubu, in company of Vice President Kashim Shettima, today at the State House met with the 36 states governors and the FCT minister. The meeting agreed on common ground to addressing some of the challenges currently facing the country, especially the rising cost of food and insecurity. The statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Bayo Omanuga, said the extensive deliberations, the President and governors agreed to work together to solve the problems and tackle the economic pressure being faced by the citizens. These are some of the key takeaways from what the President told the governors to do. 1. To address insecurity, which is also affecting food and farming production. President Tinubu made 3 key pronouncements. A. More police personnel to be recruited to strengthen the force. B. President Bola informed the governors that the federal government will work with them and the National Assembly to put in place a mechanism that will engender the state police instead of vigilantes that are being used in some states. C. The President charged the governors to strengthen their forest rangers and arm them to keep all the forests safe from criminals. D. Modalities for state police in addressing security issues to be discussed further at the National Economic Council. 2. On rising cost of food, the President directed that the state governments and federal government should collaborate to increase local food production. The President advised against the idea of food importation and price control when local food producers should be encouraged to produce more food. 3. President advised governors to follow the example of Kano State in dealing with hoarding of food for profiteering by commodities merchants. He directed the Inspector General of Police, National Security Advisor, Department of State Services to monitor warehouses hoarding food items across the country and stop profiteering by merchants. President charged governors to pay attention to livestock development in the states and increase production, most especially poultry and fish products. President pleaded with governors to ensure all salary arrears to workers' gratuities to retired workers and pensioners are cleared as a way to put money into the hands of the people, saying states are now getting more monthly FAAC revenue. Spend the money, don't spend the people, he urged the governors. 6. President Bola Tinubu implored governors to create more economic opportunities for the youths in the states to keep them more productively engaged. Senate has received the request of President Bola Tinubu for the confirmation of the appointment of a chairman and members for the Central Bank of Nigeria Monetary Policy Committee. Tinubu's request was conveyed in a letter addressed to the President of Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and read at plenary on Wednesday in Abuja. In the letter, the President listed CBN Governor Olayemi Cardoso as chairman and 11 others as members. According to the letter, the members include CBN Deputy Governors Mohammed Abdullahi, Bala Bello, NM Osoro, and Philip Ikazo, as well as Morita Sabo, who is a director in the Apex Bank, while others are the Director General Security and Exchange Commission, Lamido Yuguda, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Jafia Shehu, Aloysius Uche, Agu Pauline, Mustafa Akinwumi, and Bamadele Amon.
In accordance with the provisions of Section 12 of the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Act 2007, I am pleased to present for confirmation by the Senate the appointments of the underlisted 12 persons as chairman and members of Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Olayemi Cardoso, CBN Governor, Chairman.
Akpabio thereafter referred to the request to committees on finance, banking, insurance and other financial institutions for further legislative inputs and report back to plenary in 1 week. Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue, Zach Adedeji, says the 2.59 trillion naira tax credit scheme introduced by former President Muhammadu Buhari's administration for road construction across the country was illegal and should be scrapped. The 2.59 trillion naira tax credit scheme was introduced through Executive Order 7 of 2021 by the Buhari-led administration. Representatives of both the FIRS and the NNPCL who disclosed this when they appeared before the Senate Committee on Finance, chaired by Senator Sani Musa. This is coming after the Senator Musa-led committee had invited the FIRS and the NNPCL to shed light on implementation of the scheme in view of the poor state of federal roads across the country.
On the $3.3 billion secured by NMPC with NEC approval to support national economic policy. So when you say national economic policy, the first question the committee wants to find out is this 3.3 part of the loans that National Assembly has appropriated in the 2024 budget, which became a law, an act? If it is not, on what basis was this 3.3 secured? And where is this 3.3 going to take us to? I have gone through it. In terms of how much the loan is, yes, it's very affordable. It's very competitive. And if well utilized, it will give value for what it has been taken for.
Criticizing the scheme, the FIR's chairman identified lapses in the tax credit scheme to include those of project monitoring, budgetary allocations and releases of funds. He challenged the Federal Ministry of Works to be alive to its responsibilities while saying he will tutor officials of the ministry on principles of financial management during the next interface.
And that is what we've said, that one of those things that we are doing and we will do in this administration is to set things right. Ministry of Works should focus on awarding the road, make sure they monitor the road, and when it is time for payment, they send the money, the request for payment to Akalan General. Akalan General pays the money, deduct the taxes that they should deduct, and now when you ask questions on how the payment, the Ministry of Work can come, okay, this is what we do, and they will be the one to answer. I know, and that is why I have to commend the CFO NMPC, that he has gone far, far beyond his call of duty to make sure we have value for money.
The National Petroleum Company Limited cleared the air on a $3.3 billion loan facility secured for the Central Bank of Nigeria for stabilization of Naira in the foreign exchange markets.
Because it is very important to dispel the rumors and fake news out there in the public. What is this $3.3 billion facility for? It is an NMPC initiative. NMPC is a limited liability company. This is a pre-export financing, and it's basically a forward sale of crude oil over the next 5 years, for which we receive money upfront. We receive that money upfront because we pledge the barrels we pledge are PSC barrels, and PSC barrels belong to the Federation. And because of that, we are had to seek the consent of the owners of the PSC tax and royalty barrels, which is NUPRC and FIRS. And in order to also give it necessary backing for them to consent for us to pledge those barrels, we got NEC approval.
Up next is business news. Federal government says it will distribute the 42,000 metric tons of grains approved by President Bola Tinubu to poor Nigerians at no cost. This is coming after the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, said over 5 billion naira intervention plans would go a long way to help the residents of the state stay afloat the biting effects of the country's struggling economy occasioned by the rise in inflation and currency devaluation. Other than that, the intervention was a direct reaction to the fact that the government was never oblivious or insensitive of the hard times Nigerians were going through. He also said the intervention plans would cover education, health, distribution of food as well as deliberate welfare packages for the workers. Other than that, whatever the country was experiencing were necessary sacrifices to ensuring a greater tomorrow. And equally lauded President Bola Tinubu for his continuous efforts in navigating the complexities of the nation's economic landscape, saying that his dedication to steering the ship through turbulent times had not gone unnoticed. Meanwhile, the federal government also said the Department of State Services and the National Emergency Management Agency had been engaged in the distribution process of the 42,000 metric tons of grains approved by Tinubu in order to ensure that the commodities get to the targeted citizens nationwide. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, who disclosed this in Abuja, further revealed that the government would be supporting 500,000 farmers to cultivate and produce 1 million metric tons of rice and would increase Nigeria's rice production from the current 7 to 8 million tons annually to a new level, adding that the government would offtake the 60,000 metric tons of rice being produced by millers. Kyari also revealed that 15 state governors had expressed interest to participate fully in this year's dry season farming. Other than that, this would help in ameliorating the food crisis being experienced in Nigeria. While in February 2024, President Tinubu directed the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security to release about 42,000 metric tons of maize, millet and other commodities from the National Strategic Reserve in order to address the rising cost of food in Nigeria. The Agric Minister insisted that the government would ensure that only those who need the grains benefit from the exercise. Other than that, the state governors had been put in notice about the development. Other than that, 53,000 metric tons of grains were in various reserves across the country, while the government would release 42,000 metric tons and the remaining 11,000 metric tons will be left for emergency purposes. Central Bank of Nigeria has directed international oil companies operating in the country to fund their offshore accounts in 2 phases. The Apex Bank disclosed this in the circular dated February 14, 2024 and signed by the Director of Trade and Exchange Department Hassan Mahmood, which was issued to all authorized dealer banks. Other than that, the IOC's wild cash pooling affects liquidity in the domestic forest market. The Apex Bank also said it shall be subject to the fulfillment of a prior approval of the CBN for the repatriation of funds under the cash pooling transaction. Cash pooling agreement with the parent entity of the IOCs operating in Nigeria, among others. Federal government says indebtedness in Nigeria's power sector to electricity generating companies and gas producers has risen to about 3.3 trillion naira. It also revealed that subsidy on electricity for 2024 would go up about 3 trillion naira, whereas only 450 billion naira was budgeted for this purpose in this year's budget. Other than that, it was now very difficult to sustain power subsidy. Minister of Power Debayo Adelebu said Nigeria must begin to move towards a cost-effective tariff model because the country was currently indebted to the tune of 1.3 trillion naira to electricity generating companies, while the debt to gas companies was $1.3 billion. The minister who disclosed this in Abuja said the heads of all the agencies under the Federal Ministry of Power insisted that he would not resign his position as Power Minister following calls for his resignation by some persons, adding that the Ministries of Power, Finance and Petroleum were making efforts to tackle the crisis in the sector, while the electricity subsidy for January 2024 has not been paid yet by the federal government. That management says the federal government is planning to raise 2.5 trillion naira in a second FGN bonds auction of the year. The office in a circular said the offerings consisted of 1.25 trillion naira with a maturity date of February 2031 and 1.25 trillion naira with a 10-year tenure, while federal government saving bonds are part of the domestic borrowing plans of the federal government. According to a report, in 2023, the federal government raised about 7.06 trillion naira from the fixed income market, while the federal government has projected its new borrowing to hit 7.83 trillion naira. This is coming after President Bola Tinubu had sought approval from the National Assembly for about $8.69 billion and 100 million euros as part of the external borrowing plan for 2022 to 2024. Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries says Nigeria's crude oil production has dropped to 1.42 million barrels per day in January 2024. OPEC's monthly oil report for February 2024 showed that the country's oil output dipped by 3,000 barrels per day, or 0.21%, while the federal government projected 1.78 million barrels per day in 2024 budget. But the nation's oil production rose to 1.33 million barrels per day to 1.42 million barrels per day based on data obtained through direct communication. In the 2024 budget, President Bola Tinubu had in a budget proposed that the nation would strive to produce above what it currently produces as crude oil, while the 28.7 trillion naira budget depends heavily on crude oil process, which is the major revenue of the Nigerian government. OPEC disclosed that the crude oil output increased mainly in the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia and Venezuela, adding that the total crude oil production in the 12 OPEC states averaged 26.34 million barrels per day last month, reducing by 350,000 barrels per day. House of Representatives Committee on Ports and Harbors has called on the federal government to urgently reconstruct ports in the country. The chairman of the committee, Nalim Naji, gave the recommendations recently to mark the end of a 3-day oversight visit to the agency, stressing that the committee had witnessed the level of decay at the port and should agree with the management of MPA on the need to urgently construct Tinkan Island and comprehensively rehabilitate Apapa, Rivers, Warri, Onel and Calabar port complexes respectively. He said the management of the MPA had done well in the area of unprecedented revenue generation and remittance to the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation and in the area of infrastructure and equipment renewal, adding that the 100% physical examination of cargo negated the objectives of trade facilitation and ease of doing business. He assured the efforts of the current leadership of Nigerian Customs and the necessary automation of cargo examination through the use of scanners. Nigeria Customs Service is planning to collaborate with the National Inland Waterways Authority to construct modern jetties. Comptroller General Adewale Adeniyi, who disclosed this in Lagos during the 2024 International Customs Day celebration themed Customs Engaging Traditional and New Partners with Purpose, said the Customs Service was working in various collaborations with sister agencies to address the issue of port congestion and to ensure the ports are more efficient. Adeyemi also disclosed the Nigeria Customs Service would ensure that the momentum of the collaboration was sustained. Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar III, has expressed worry over the level of suffering, insecurity and impoverishment being experienced in Nigeria. He said, soon it will be difficult to keep the people from revolting. The Sultan, who disclosed this addressing participants at the Arawa House in Kaduna, said the 6th Executive Northern Traditional Rulers Council meeting was for the traditional rulers and religious leaders who have been calming the general public, including the unemployed youth, in order to prevent any form of uprising against the political leaders currently. Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party in the 2023 election, Atiku Abubakar, has accused President Bola Tinubu of trying to decimate Nigeria with hunger, economic hardship and poverty. Atiku, who disclosed these in the dire situation and likened Tinubu to a quack doctor trying to treat a cancerous patient. A statement by his media aide, Frank Shaibu, Atiku said, the fallout of the shambolic policies of President Bola Tinubu-led APC administration is killing Nigerians even as there are no efforts to stem the tide, and also accused Tinubu of playing politics with the appointment of ministers, stressing that most of them should not be appointed. He lamented that the president's economic perspective was limited by the fact that he had surrounded himself with Lagos cycle, putting loyalty ahead of competence, while insisting that the president knew little about Nigeria's economy and nothing about security or building a national economy. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, says the 10th National Assembly will support the manufacturing industry in Nigeria to succeed. Akpabio disclosed this while the executive of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria paid him a courtesy visit in his office and identified the plight of the manufacturers as a result of the economic situation in the country and praised them for their resilience. He also said the collaborative efforts of the National Assembly with the executive arm of government to turn things around, particularly in the areas of security and economic, cannot be overemphasized. Earlier, the president of MAN, Otimba Francis Meshoe, who led the delegation, said the visit was to discuss the current state of manufacturing sector and collaborate on identifying areas where legislative support was crucial for manufacturers to effectively fulfill their long-standing roles in employment and wealth creation. Former chairman of the Special Presidential Investigations Panel, Chief Okoye Obono Obla, has called on the National Assembly to make laws that will reduce the bureaucracy and high cost of governance in Nigeria. A statement to disagree with calls for the replacement of the presidential system of government with a parliamentary system. The law insisted that the National Assembly should be consistent on laws that will herald prudent management of resources, reduce corruption, inefficiency, maladministration, and a productive economy, and promised not to subscribe to the view that a parliamentary system is ideal for Nigeria. Obono Obla said he is not excited about the call for a parliamentary system of government, but that it is not what should bring food to the tables of Nigerians or what would ameliorate the present economic hardship of the country, and expressed the call for a red herring and diversionary tactic by the House of Representatives wing of the National Assembly of the governing elites. Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the much-awaited student loan scheme may kick off in 2 or 3 weeks. Gbajabiamila disclosed this when a delegation from the National Association of Nigerian Students, led by its president Lucky Monefe, paid a visit to the State House, Abuja, and urged the Nigerian students to support the scheme, adding that it is aimed at ensuring access to quality education for all Nigerian students, regardless of their socio-economic background. This is coming after President Tinubu signed the student loan scheme into law in June last year, despite the fact that its commencement had suffered a setback. Nigerian Meteorological Agency says There will be haziness and thunderstorms across the country from Thursday to Saturday. According to its weather outlook in Abuja, there would be moderate dust, haze on Thursday with visibility of between 2 kilometers and 5 kilometers, while envisaging localized visibility of less than 1 kilometer over the northern parts all through the projected 3-day period. The agency also said that there would be a slight dust haze over the north central region with patches of cloud over parts of Kogi, Benue, Kwara, and anticipated a cloudy atmosphere with spells of sunshine over inland states. You are still watching the news on Atlantic Television Network. Up next, international tidbits. United Kingdom economy has entered recession after recording 2 successive quarters of negative economic growth in the second half of last year, while the UK's gross domestic product shrank by 0.3% in the fourth quarter of 2023 after contracting 0.1% in the previous 3 months, meeting the technical definition of recession. The Office of the National Statistics confirmed this in a statement. The development comes amid elevated inflation and a cost of living crisis, dealing with a blow the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak before this year's general election, and accordingly, the Office of National Statistics noted that all main sectors shrank in the fourth quarter, while manufacturing, construction and wholesale being the biggest drags on growth, but added that the economy was broadly flat overall in 2023. Sunak, whose governing Conservatives were trailing Keir Starmer's main opposition Labour Party ahead of the election due this year, has pledged to grow the economy as one of his top 5 priorities. The news of the recession comes as UK voters go to the polls in 2 by-elections, with the Conservative fearful of losing one-time strongholds in Wellingborough, central England, and Kingswood in southwest. United States of America aviation lawyer Robert Clifford says the tragic helicopter crash that claimed the lives of the group Chief Executive Officer of Access Holdings, Herbert Wigwe, and other prominent Nigerians in California on Friday could have been averted. Clifford, who is the founder and senior partner at Clifford Law Offices in Chicago, disclosed this after Herbert Wigwe, his wife Doreen, and his son Chizzy, and a former group chairman of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, Abimbola Ogunbanja, lost their lives in a fatal crash. The Airbus helicopter carrying 6 occupants, including 2 crew members, crashed at a border town between California and Nevada. Clifford's statement came amid the ongoing investigation of the chopper crash by the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, and investigators from the agency have transferred the aircraft wreckage to another location in the U.S. for comprehensive laboratory examination and analysis. Russia's invasion edges toward the end of its second year. The mood among Ukraine's defenders is darkening as exhaustion, frustration at a shortage of weapons, and the knowledge that there will be no quick military victory. Moments later, 2 more wounded men were helped in through another entrance. Vadim, 48, had been hit by shrapnel in his upper arm that morning as his unit was storming a Russian position in Avdiivka. The Russian artillery shell had hit his stretch overnight, and a piece of shrapnel sliced through his ankle, and the surgeon Vitaly worked at a children's hospital before the war. He spoke wearily of his experience amputating limbs last year during Ukraine's failed counteroffensive across Russian minefields, and of the shrapnel's wounds that were now filling his days and nights. 1 person is feared dead and 21 people wounded in shooting in Missouri at the end of the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl victory parade. Officials said they treated 8 victims who were in immediately life-threatening condition and 7 others who had suffered injuries that could prove life-threatening. 9 children were among the wounded. All are expected to recover. Police said they have arrested 3 suspects in connection to the shooting, while more than 800 police officers were already on the scene to monitor the parade. Ms. Gravis said they responded immediately after the gunshot broke out, and detectives who were on the scene quickly opened on investigation. The fire department also sprang to action, administering aid to the injured. Here now is ATN Sports News. Eyimba have celebrated the invitation of two of their players to the Nigeria Under-20 squad for the 2023 All-Africa Ghana Games. Both Daniel Dagger and Izogu Chibeze are among players listed by Flying Eagles. Head coach Ladan Bosu for the football event of the games and the impressive force formed since he joined the People's Elephant on a season-long loan at the start of the 2023 to 2024 Nigeria Premier Football League season. He has featured in all Eyimba's games in the league this term, while Izogu, on the other hand, have shown glimpses of his qualities in the middle of the park for Finidi George's side. He scored a wonderful goal in Eyimba's victory against Shooting Stars in Ibadan last month, and both players are expected to resume camping in preparation for the competition. Super Eagles have moved up 14 places in the latest FIFA men's ranking, and the Nigerian national team moved from the 42nd position to the 28th position in the world. The new ranking by the World Football Governing Body also showed that the Super Eagles have moved from 6th position to 3rd in Africa, and the new position on the global list is the national team's highest since May 2013. The big leap is due to the Eagles' campaign at the just concluded African Cup of Nations in Cote d'Ivoire, where they came second and clinched the silver medal after an unbeaten run in the competition. The Eagles lost 2-1 to Cote d'Ivoire in the final, while Cote d'Ivoire moved from 49th in the world to 39th, while Morocco and Senegal maintained their lead as the best African teams. Argentina remained number 1 in the world in the latest ranking, while France and Brazil maintained 2nd and 3rd positions. The FIFA Men's World Ranking is a rating system by the football's world governing body for the men's national teams in association football and based on their performance in games. The men's member team are ranked with the most successful teams at the top. The next FIFA World Ranking will be released on April 4, 2024. Minister of Sports Development Senator John Owan Enna has congratulated the Super Eagles of Nigeria for moving up 14 places in the latest FIFA men's ranking. Super Eagles are now ranked 28th in the world, while the 2023 African runners-up are also ranked the 3rd best team in Africa. Only Morocco, who are the highest ranked country in the continent, and Senegal, 2nd position, are ahead of Nigeria, while Egypt and Cote d'Ivoire complete the top 5 teams in Africa. Flying Eagles of Nigeria will resume camping today ahead of the 2024 All-Africa Games. Head coach Ladan Bosu has already summoned 30 players to camp, while the invited players have been advised to report to the Ageta Luxury Hotel in Gwarimpo Estate, Abuja. A final squad will be drawn from the list, and this is coming after Bosu led the Under-20 boys to the quarterfinals of last year's FIFA Under-20 World Cup finals in Argentina. The Flying Eagles will play Uganda, South Sudan, Senegal, Tunisia, and that other in the group stage. And the 13th edition of the All-Africa Games will be hosted by Ghana, will start next month. Legendary Manchester United Sir Alex Ferguson has approved the club's decision to poach Dan Ashworth from Newcastle United. The 52-year-old is set to become the Red Devils sporting director while Sir Jim Ratcliffe, now in charge of football matters at Old Trafford. The British billionaire is looking to rearrange the structure, and Omar Barrether has already joined from Manchester City, but Ratcliffe wants a sporting director to oversee all football operations. Ashworth, the United's first choice, and should he decide to leave Newcastle, while the Red Devils will have to pay a significant compensation fee and wait for him to complete a prolonged period of gardening leave. But with Ashworth viewed as the best in the business, he said, it is clear that Ferguson endorsed the move. Next is entertainment news. Nigerian singer Divine Ikubo, aka Rema, has been confirmed as a performer at this year's edition Music Awards ceremony in United Kingdom, the Brit Awards. Rema will become the second Nigerian artist to perform at the Brit Awards after Burna Boy performed at the awards ceremony in 2018. The awards ceremony is scheduled to hold in London on March 2nd, 2023, and Nigeria is yet to have a Brit Award winner. Nigerian singer Davido has released a Rolex wristwatch gift from Atletico Madrid player Memphis Depay. The striker gave the gift to Davido, a multi-million naira Rolex watch, after he performed at his 30th birthday party recently. Confirming the reports via his Instagram story, Davido claimed it was the first time he ever received the gift, despite several Nigerian celebrities giving him cash gifts during his birthday years back, which he later donated to charity, and also said he has always been the one giving to people. Afro-based singer Davido says he has a joint musical project with his colleague Kiss Daniel. He stated that a collaborative extended play with Kiss Daniel would be a priority after the release of his next album. He dropped the hint via his X handle, stressing that Davido and Kiss Daniel have collaborated on 3 songs, namely Would You Remix, One Ticket, and most recently Twe Remix. Nollywood star Timini Ebuson had boasted that he is the biggest actor on the African continent. He said he has been consistently acting for 15 years and has inspired a lot of young actors. Ebuson said he had been acting for 15 years consistently and expressed belief that he opened up the leading male young actor category. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Police recover stolen generators from DPO murder suspects. EFCC detains professor over alleged 1.47 billion naira fraud. Federal government governors adopt creation of state police. OPEC says Nigeria's crude production drops to 1.490 million barrels per day. U.S. aviation lawyer falls plane flying Wigwe, others in bad weather. Aimba rejoiced over flying Eagles invitation. Singer Rema guest set for Brit Awards. I am Chiara Davis. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on the social media platform X, Atlantic TV Network, Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram, Atlantic TV Network. Peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Good night.
from the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains. Through the Sahara, we bring on-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.